Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Whetstone Podcast, Episode 2. My name is Albert Petsevich.
And this is Adrian Buck.
And today we are joined with Michael Schneider, aka Top Dog. Michael is a serial entrepreneur out of New York City, and he is the founder and chief pilot of Pilots to the Rescue, a nonprofit that saves animals through his ambitions and passion for flight and animal rescue. And today we wanted to talk to Mike about some things within his entrepreneurial journey and what made him come to this very point. Adrian?
So nice to meet you, Michael.
Yeah, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
So we actually do some work with Michael already, so we're pretty familiar with his operation here. So we got a couple of general business questions for you. I think our first thing is just tell us a little bit about your organization.
Sure. I started Pilots to Rescue back in 2015 to combine my love of aviation and rescuing animals. Basically, after a couple, flying to a favorite lunch spot, restaurant, they call it $100 hamburger, but we all know it's more like $200 hamburger today. And flying on the skyline, I was looking for a reason to give back and do something with this awesome pilot certificate that I worked so hard to achieve. And I heard that people were rescuing animals. So I heard about a litter of ditch puppies in North Carolina, and I went with one of my friends who was also a pilot, and I got such satisfaction and fulfillment at rescuing those puppies and to see that they were adopted by loving homes that I was like, hey, I want to start this too. Being a serial entrepreneur, we all think we can build a better mousetrap, and I think I did. But the real reason I also wanted to start a charity is to be able to afford a plane I normally couldn't. It's very difficult to rent a six-place aircraft, six-passenger aircraft. Everything that's on a flight line is pretty much 4 passengers for insurance reasons, for training. They're really not a good reason to have a 6-passenger aircraft. So I couldn't rent one. So I raised money, and the first plane we bought was a 1977 Lance. And the rest is history. To date, we've rescued over 2,000 animals. This year alone, our goal is 1,000 animals. And hopefully we'll be able to purchase a caravan soon, so we can rescue 5 times the amount of animals.
Nice.
Yeah.
So tell us about, as we said, you were a serial entrepreneur. So how did you start your business journey?
I started at the ripe age of 13. I had an errand running company, a pet sitting company. When I was 15, I had a computer consulting company. I worked in a state public park, FDR Park, as a garbage boy. I worked at the Bagel Emporium. So I've held both retail jobs like at Gap, food service, as I mentioned. And all those experiences gave me the knowledge and the interactions with the general public, and I started, percolating different ideas. The computer consulting company was really eye-opening for me because at like 16 years old, I was making like $50 an hour, and all my friends were making like $5, $7 an hour. Yeah. So when I was growing up, we didn't have cable. We had computers. So TV was a big distraction for a lot of people, and I was like coding and going to computer camp. Kind of dorky, but it paid off.
Yeah, clearly.
A lot of those dorky nerds, they end up becoming millionaires.
That's right.
Not that I'm a millionaire, but
yeah. Look at Bill Gates. He ain't exactly the most attractive man in the world.
Yeah.
I bet you every woman wants him. So, anyways, so you kind of jumped from a for-profit business standpoint to a non-profit. Can you tell us a little bit about that process?
Sure. So during COVID, I had a business-to-business event planning company, very niche events in hospitality design. I had a very successful run in that industry. But COVID, as you can imagine, hospitality, design, and events face-to-face were just not happening. So that company was in decline. And Pilots to Rescue was increasing because during COVID, everybody wanted a furry friend at home. There was a mass return to home. And because of the state-to-state transport restrictions, there was a period of time where you couldn't even drive into New York from out of state. But they had a rule, if you were in and out within 24 hours, that was acceptable. So a lot of people were contacting us and saying, we can't transport these animals by ground, we need your air services to transport. And the donations came in droves. Also because the government was allowing people to take full deductions for charitable donations, whereas before you could only do partial. They were encouraging people to give more money away. So when I saw the event company in decline and Pilots to Rescue increasing, I was like, okay, this side hustle, this passion of mine is going to become a real job now. So I kicked myself off the board of directors and started paying myself a nominal salary. So I make 1/3 what I made before, but I'm 3 times as happier and fulfilled doing what I love.
There we go. Yeah.
So I wanted to ask about the whole transport process of the animals. Can you walk me through a regular day in the life of Michael Schneider when you are on duty?
When I'm on the rescue, sure. So these are very long days. It's not unusual for it to be sunrise to sunset.
Yeah.
So I normally wake up between 5 and 5:30 every day anyway. So after I help my wife and get the kids situated to a certain degree, I bolt out of there because there's a lot of traffic. I'm coming from Brooklyn. So it's about an hour, hour and a half from Brooklyn. I get here, we start mapping out the crates. It's a giant game of Tetris in there. It's a pretty decent sized cabin, but you do need to work out, which crates go where, how you're going to stack them. So I spent some time doing that. Obviously pre-flight the plane and get ready to go. We're typically going down south. North Carolina is #1 state we go to, and then it's the South Carolina, Tennessee, Kentucky, Georgia. Those are the main states, sometimes Virginia. So round trip, it's between 6 and 8 hours. And then we come back to our home airport here at Essex County whenever possible, even if it means another short journey in the van. You're familiar with that?
Yes, sir.
So any wear and tear we can reduce on the plane. When we can limit fuel stops and takeoff and landings, it's best because these planes break all the time, and that's one of the most difficult parts of the job is keeping the planes up in the air.
Can you tell us a little bit about the Piper Saratoga you have here?
Yeah, so this is actually a Piper Cherokee 6 or 6XT, but Piper brought back this very popular 6-place aircraft, single engine piston, it's turbocharged. But the Cherokee 6 started as a 260 horsepower model, and it came out with 300 horsepower. And then it came out with a Lance, which is a Cherokee 6 with retractable gear, so on and so forth. But this is a 2003. I think they reintroduced the PA32 line, I believe, in 1998, and I think they stopped it in 2009. This one's a 2003. We have a 2006, and it's fixed gear, turbocharged. Not the fastest thing in the sky. Doesn't handle all that well. It's a little bit like a dump truck. But for what we do, it's probably I can't imagine a better single-engine piston aircraft. It competes with the Cessna Station Air, which they still make today. Bonanza. 6-place Bonanza, but yeah, not that fast, but spacious inside. Does everything that we need to do.
It's got a large useful load then, right?
Yeah, 1,200-pound useful load, and you could easily go over that. There's actually a paper STC for 11% over gross max weight in Alaska. So, you could probably take about 1,000 pounds plus full fuel in this plane.
Okay, nice.
Yeah.
Nice. So, what are some of the risks to the dogs in comparison to flying them rather than doing ground transport?
Sure. Well, the animals can become hypoxic above 8,000 feet. Not everybody knows that transports animals. Sometimes they'll find out the hard way.
Right.
And it's very loud. So I think it's equivalent to us going to like a rock concert for a few hours.
Right.
And at the risk of their hearing being a little damaged, they're surviving to be adopted. Right. I don't think that one plane ride would damage their hearing anyway. I just never gotten a definitive answer on that.
Right.
But if the animal this is far less stress just because of the time.
Right.
If you think about it, we're saving a day's worth of driving.
Of course.
Flying 8 hours round trip is probably equivalent to about 24 hours in a car.
I'd much rather take some hearing loss than 24 hours in a hot car.
And I've never had any issues. I just don't know. I'm not a veterinarian. So.
That's right.
So through your entrepreneurial journey, I'm sure you faced a lot of obstacles trying to, make things work, because a business is just making it work. What are the largest obstacles you faced, and how did you overcome them?
The largest obstacles I faced in my entrepreneurial journeys, I would say funding certainly is one of them. Everybody thinks of startup, you got to go out and get funding. Well, a lot of the businesses I started with my own money, and it's easy to run out. So I would say the other thing is not placing enough value in your services and undercharging. That's another common mistake people will do in the beginning because they're hungry for business and they think they got to be the cheapest. That's not the case. Personally, when I shop for services, I'm not looking for the cheapest price. I'm looking for good communication, reliability, and good service. Maybe not the cheapest, maybe not the most expensive, but somewhere in between. You kind of get what you pay for with a lot of this stuff.
Of course, yeah. I think me and Albert ourselves have realized that through our 2 years in our own endeavors, attempting to go and undercut other detailers, which is what we do. We do aviation detailing. And the idea, like you said at the beginning, is you're hungry for business and you're willing to go out there and slave away. And what I realized, especially in an industry like aviation, is it doesn't matter if you go ahead and you go to Mr. Joe who owns a Falcon 50 and you tell him, hey man, I'll do it for half the price of what your detailers are. Because if they have a good relationship with those detailers, chances they don't care about the price at the end of the day. They care about the relationship. And I think that's another thing with businesses, is keeping relationships alive and well, and tending to each and every single individual client or partnership that you come across. And yeah, like you just said, I think that was our biggest problem, was undercharging at our first point. And yeah, I'm glad throughout like most of our time meeting other business owners, there's always a similar kind of process or similar experiences that everybody has, especially starting, like you said, from your own bank, you're from your own wallet.
Yeah.
Can you speak about some of your inspirations in life?
I'm always inspired by people that are able to take on more than me and keep a calm demeanor. So that could be politicians, that could be CEOs. Every time that I feel like overwhelmed or bogged down, I just remind myself there are people that have more on their plate than me and are able to do it. So being a father of 4 children and running this charity, as well as taking care of my mom who's in a nursing home, sometimes things feel extremely overwhelming, you know, and you feel like you can't take a breath. So you have to keep things in perspective, you know. As entrepreneurs, we hustle and we do the grind, but if you're not enjoying it, what's the point?
Right.
So that's something, as I got a little bit older, I realized. And my ability to take on risk of starting a new venture, it may not be a new business, but something within Pilots to the Rescue, for example, it's got to prove itself pretty quick, because I don't have the energy and effort and the time like I did before. So as I become wiser with age and experience, I'm willing to kill something, you know, an idea off quickly if it takes too much effort. I can just take a step back and be like, well, maybe this isn't the right time to do that. Sometimes you have to learn how to say no, even to yourself.
So 4 kids in a business, how many hours of sleep do you get a night?
Well, sleep is not, it's not, sometimes I want to get more sleep, it just doesn't always work out that way. But
right.
If I get 6 hours of sleep, that's great, you know. 7 to 9 would be better, but 6 I can function. And sometimes those days where I have trouble falling asleep or staying asleep, I take advantage. The house is so quiet, and I just pull these all-nighters and get so much work done in those hours. So it's not the end of the world, you know, you just crash the next day.
And how often do you take vacations recently?
I was just telling someone that this year I only flew once for pleasure, and we took a business. We flew down to North Carolina. It was Odell Williamson Airport near Holden Beach, and went to my friend's beach house. That's the first vacation I can remember taking. So probably once a year.
Okay.
Yeah, it's more like weekends and stuff like that.
Right.
But when the kids get older, I mean, that's one of the things I've been craving is, instead of flying in and out 6 to 8 hours a day doing rescues, I would love to fly in the night before, enjoy myself in these little towns and cities, and then fly back fresh the next day with the animals. I'll probably do that more often when they get a little older.
So you'd say it's crucial to enjoy what you're doing?
Absolutely. If you're not passionate about what you're doing, you're not enjoying it, and it doesn't feel like it shouldn't feel like work. Or at least, you know, this is hard work. You know, it's grueling, but it doesn't feel like work. I feel very satisfied at the end of the day. If it doesn't feel like that, it's best to find something else. That's also really difficult for entrepreneurs, or at least new ones, is they want the safety of a paycheck and the benefits. And a lot of people have side hustles. That's very common today, either a hobby or something they enjoy, but they're not quite ready to make the jump and do it full time. They're kind of straddling both. At a certain point, you just got to make the jump, you know, whether it's saving up a nest egg so you feel comfortable when the timing is right. I mean, consider that there's no perfect timing, but at a certain point, you got to jump ship. And I was straddling for a while during COVID. You know, I didn't want to just give up my events company. I raised like $500,000, some investors. I felt beholden to them, you know, committed to see the see it through. So for a while there, I was doing both. But at a certain point, you just got to say, hey, that's not going to work, and close up shop and focus.
Yeah.
You know, but it was doing this kind of thing, you know, where pilots was increasing, and the next, you know, and at a certain point,
the opportunity costs outweigh.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, we had that same fear, or I'd say dread, of like you said, jumping from your paycheck to being responsible for making your own money. And both me and Albert ourselves quit our day jobs at different times. And I watched him go through the same exact thing that I went through. And it's like you said, it's that security behind a paycheck, like a cook, a line cook, right? Or a server. If it's a dead day, the server won't make anything in tips, right? But the line cook will make the same amount as if it was super busy. And I think, you know, that's different because you have a guaranteed position there either way. You know, some days are going to be busy. But when you have your own business, you're responsible for making it busy. And yeah, I think that's a huge point that our watchers should take from this is take that jump, you know, take the risk, especially, you know, whatever point you are in life. A lot of the times it's easier to do when you're younger, you know, if you have a supporting family, like as me and Albert are fortunate enough to have. We made the jump pretty early on, and sometimes there's going to be people who always doubt it, you know, and you just got to keep going, and as long as you know that you can make it work and you're passionate about it, go for it.
So Mike, can you talk about this caravan that you're fundraising for?
Yeah, so as much as I love these planes, you know, they're very expensive, and the cabin is generous, but for a little bit more money per hour, we can operate a caravan, which is a turboprop, holds 5 times the amount of animals. The difficulty up until now has been the purchase price. A good used caravan's nearly $2 million. So that's been the barrier to entry, and banks don't like to loan to nonprofits. They take your personal finances into consideration. And my wife and I, my wife's a teacher, we don't make enough money to qualify for that kind of loan. So we have a very generous donor who is committed to seeing us get that plane. We have 3 of these, so we're most likely going to unload one of them. We don't need 3. We can't even get a hangar here for a third. And the caravan we can keep in a shared hangar in Belmar in Monmouth County. So yeah, that will be a game changer for us because it puts us on another level. We can do disaster response. We can work with larger organizations like Best Friends and SPCA, Bissell Pet Foundation, these groups that coordinate these larger efforts to get animals out, whether it be fire, hurricane, and it's not just taking animals out, it's bringing supplies in. So that's, you know, that kind of hurts me a little bit when we're almost always going to pick up the animals with the empty cabin. So if you think of disaster, they need water, they need towels, they need food, and all that stuff. Yeah. So we'd be able to help out the local community in more than one way.
Where can people donate to this cause?
You can go to pilotstorescue.org. It's all spelled out, pilots, T-O-T-H-E, rescue.org.
Put it down written right here.
Yeah. And we're on social media, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube.
Which will be linked right here.
Yeah.
All right.
So.
Any more questions, Adrian?
How was your day today?
Day was all right. I had one of those nights where I was grinding through the night, so a little tired, but I pushed through. And we staged a rescue today because the influencer we were working with is allergic to animals.
Okay.
So she didn't want to sit 6 to 8 hours in the cabin of the plane.
That's right.
So sometimes we do that, you know. Sometimes the days are so long that it's difficult to do the kind of filming and pictures that you want. But that went well, and we had some people come with their animals to the airport and help us out because the shelter sometimes isn't available. They don't have volunteers. So a lot of people ask how they can help out besides donating. I would encourage people to go to their local shelter and actually roll up their sleeves and get their hands dirty.
Yes.
It's so easy to write a check, and we need the funds, but it's harder to get involved, and it is more rewarding, you know. So adopt, don't shop, as we say. Adopt an animal, open up your home to a loving pet. Perfect. Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah.
One last thing, Mike. Any words for the young entrepreneur watching this, looking to get a little motivation to start their journey?
I would learn by doing, and also see if you can shadow someone who's in the field that you're looking to go into. You know, make mistakes on their dime in the beginning. So, you know, that's just go to a similar business and ask if you can intern or learn from them, and you'd be surprised the type of response you get. and that's extremely helpful when you set out to do the real thing.
Perfect.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Mike, thank you so
very
much.
much.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thank you for
Thank
having
you.
me. Good luck.